Hi, it's Jill Tisby here at FiredGlass, and this morning we're going to play with twisties. So I have decided that we're going to make a cake stand. Hello, Jill here. Welcome to the FiredGlass studio. It's a lovely spring morning outside, so I'm feeling very spring-like and very vibrant today. I've got my twisties out, so these things here. A lot of people always ask, what on earth do you do with twisties? Twisties are the result of when we've pulled murrine and we're getting towards the end of the pot, and maybe the pattern in the murrine is not as defined as it could be, or maybe the air's starting to come down the middle of the pot, and we get tubes like this. So you can't really see this, I suppose, but trust me, this has got air right down the middle. So we start to twist it, and it goes into these wonderful shapes. So we sell these on the website as twisties. There's all sorts of colours. I've gone with a warm palette of colours today. I'm going to make a cake stand because they seem to be in vogue at the moment. And actually, I've had cake stand fittings, these things, for quite a while sitting in the studio. Keep meaning to make them because when we do workshops, we do actually serve cake, believe it or not. And this would be an ideal thing to use. So this is a cake stand fitting that I'm going to use. You actually can get these on Amazon, but just be aware. I'll just show you what we've got here. Oh, horrible noise, like putting your fingers down a blackboard. I'm going to show you this one because this one is not as good as the one that I'm actually going to use, and I have got both bits. But if obviously you can't feel it, but if you pick this up and you pick this up, this is probably twice as heavy as this thing here. But you know, they're still nice, they're still okay. So they come in 3 parts here because obviously you want 3 layers to your cake stand. And you get washers, you get little plastic washers and metal washers. With the one that I'm using here, you actually get metal washers for each stage. With this one, you just get the plastic washers. And a metal washer for the bottom. If you can get the type with metal washers for each stage, so when I say each stage, you're going to have the base plate here, so that's going to sit on there like that. You have another plate here and another plate here. We're obviously going to have to drill a hole in the centre of each plate that we make, and if you've got the metal washers, there's one there with the 2 sort of foam washers either side. The metal washer will support the hole or support the plate a lot better. So if you can get those, ideal. The other thing I would say is that when you start to put these together, so obviously they screw together like this, just use some of your cutting oil, dip this into there, get the rest of it off, and you'll find that these will actually screw together much better. Because I found yesterday it felt like I was cross-threading it, and that's obviously not what you want to do, but as soon as you put cutting oil on it, it works better. So as I said, you can get those on Amazon. Have a good look at the different styles and choose which one you want to get. I'm just going to put those to one side. So cake stand fittings is what you're searching for. So we talked about, this is the one I'm going to use. I like this because it's a modern shape and the pattern that we're going to do is reasonably modern. So this is where it's going to sit, like that. So what size do we need to do? Well, I want to slump the base plate of mine on this particular slumper, and it's 25 centimetres square. So this just fits on there, well, this is 25 centimetres square, so this just fits on here at the moment. You need to make sure that it's balanced. So I've cut 5 centimetres less for each subsequent layer. So this one that I'm going on to here is 20 centimetres. and this one is 15 centimetres. So if I hold them there, you can see it's quite a decent sized cake stand, so you'll be able to get quite a few cakes on there. And obviously that's the aim of the game. Lots of cake. I'll put that to one side. If you're not sure, before you cut the glass, then you can make it in paper. So obviously that's my base, that's this middle layer, and that's the top layer. And you get a good idea as to the sizes. It's also useful to have probably a paper template if you're going to repeat them going forward. What I've also done with each of my pieces, I'm probably going to use a little bit of paper so I can show you that. You can see that I've drawn with Sharpie from corner to corner. I've drawn a line so that you get the centre point of each one. And again, that's useful to have that centre point, because you want, if you're going to create a pattern on there, you want to make sure that you're not going to go over that hole in the middle, because you're only going to drill through it. And it may be that you want to draw other lines. You might want to have a border around there, so you want lines to follow. So drawing it on with Sharpie's fine. Sharpie's going to burn off. But I've put the centre point for each one of the ones that I've got here. Okay. So talking about twisties then, these twisties are, some of them are solid, some of them are hollow. I chose to go with the warm colours, but we've actually got some beautiful twisties in here. These would go nice together. So you've got a pink, and you've got something, I think this came out of the persimmon murrine that we did. So you've got this beautiful sharp sort of burgundy line in that one, which is really nice. So what I've done for the pattern that I'm doing, I've actually chopped some of them up. So that I've got these little lines, and I've left that middle through. We're going to full fuse this, by the way, so this will actually melt into the glass. The other thing I thought about here was, should I do 2 layers of glass, or should I just use 1 layer of glass? So when you full fuse something, you probably already know this, but I'm going to explain it very quickly anyway. There's something called the 6mm rule. So the 6mm rule would suggest that if you had a piece of glass that was 3mm thick, it wants to be, when you full fuse it, it wants to be 6mm thick. So how does it do that? Well, it starts pulling in from the sides. So if you imagine this plastic bag, it pulls in like this and pulls itself up to 6mm. So when it does it there and does it there, you end up with a dog bone shape. So to stop that happening, if you start with 6mm already, it's going to try and retain the shape, roughly the shape that you're fusing it to, so it'll stay square. Now I actually don't mind if this dog bones, because if it goes in a little bit, it might all add to the pattern. If I don't like it, I can simply grind. So we'll see what happens when it comes out. But also, I've actually got quite a lot of glass on top of this, so I'm hoping that it's not going to dog bone too much, and it's going to give me a nice shape. So I started with this base layer. I've already done it. I've just simply cut my pieces up and kind of sporadically place them. So I haven't been too fussy about this, but I've tried to get even number of the different types. So like this one, the yellow ones. So I've got a different variation all the way around, and tried to make that sort of reasonably even. So I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to put this to one side, and I'm going to show you what I did by finishing the other 2. So let's just pick this up and make sure we don't drop it. These are all glued on, by the way, so they're not going to fall off. Let's put this to one side. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to use this top on this bottle to do this. This is the top layer, and I'm going to do the top layer exactly the same as I did the base layer. So same pattern on there. So these are my pieces. I'm going to get myself some glue, and I'm going to sort of just pop these on. So I haven't been particularly bothered about where these things go, except to say that I've used small pieces. It doesn't matter whether you put the glue on the glass or on here. It's a very easy thing to do. I've used small pieces at the end, so I've tried to keep within that sort of triangular bit. And I've used longer pieces like this in the middle. And you may find sometimes you want to keep the darker colours on the edge as well, because the darker colours help to hold in that pattern, which might sound a bit weird, but it works for me. So sometimes I shift bits over. Oops. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to start with my middle piece on each one. So I've got the longest bits. And this is just reasonably random. Let's put a bit more glue there because I don't want it shifting in the kiln. There we go. And sometimes I do this and think, nah, I don't like that, I'll move that over. But let's pop this over here. I like this bit. There's some beautiful twists in here. These orange ones are reasonably solid. And what I have found is where I've got thicker at the bottom, I've put the thicker part of it to the edge. Let's put this one in, that's a nice one. Some beautiful summery colours on here. Oh, as you can see, it's quite a straightforward thing to do. I decided not to put that there because I've got the same one there, so just move these over and shift that one to there. Got glue all over my fingers now, so it's not helping me. Put that on there. It's rolling around all over the place. Lovely. Now, if you need to cut any of these, because if you feel, you know, you still need some of them to be smaller, and I think I might need some of this to be smaller, just use mosaic pliers. So these things here, you don't need massively strong ones. Just snap that in half. Oh, no. So I need orange bit just there. And I'm not particularly trying to match the bottom plate at all that I did, because it's just enough that it's got the same sort of colours on there. It looks like it all fits together as part of a set, so that's absolutely fine. Let's have some more of this. I like this. This came from the Sunshine Daisies, so it's got sunflower yellow and canary yellow in it, I think. Just lovely, lovely colours. Let's pop that one there. I think we're nearly there. Okay, so sometimes you might want to cut some of these, which are the tubes. So they've got obviously holes going down the middle, and you want to cut them with these mosaic cutters. It's difficult to do because if you cut them like this, it's likely going to shatter. So if you've got one of these, it's just one of the big bottles or a container that's similar, it's absolutely fine to get that out of the way. Pop that in there and then cut it that way. And I didn't get any shards from that, but sometimes when you do this, you'll get confetti shards. We call it vitrograph confetti, and you can see I've got loads of that there. So we don't throw any of it away. We put it in here, and we can use it. I'm going to use it on the next piece. It's really quite useful. So we're nearly there, I think. Let's have a look. I've got glue running down everywhere here, so let's just use this. Put the last few bits on. I think I'm going to pop that bit there. And I have one of these over here. Move that up. Let's pop this last little bit. I think that's it. I think we're good to go with that. So I'm quite happy. Let me take that off there. You can have a look. So just make sure that your pieces are where you want them to be. Move them around if you need to. I'm quite happy with that. Make that right on the edge. And that's it. So it's really quick to do. That's my top layer. My bottom layer looks the same. The middle layer we're going to do slightly differently. Okay, so this is the 20cm piece, the middle layer, and rather than having these cut pieces, let's pop these back in here because we don't want them. Get them out of the way, clear the decks. What I'm going to do this time is use these. So these are, you've probably all got these. These are bits of stringer, the organically pulled stringer that we've got, and at the bottom of the box where we store them, you've got tiny little bits that have fallen off. So it looks like this. All of these little bits on here. Let's move these. You can see we've got boxes of this stuff. Absolutely gorgeous. It's like one of those things where you walk into a pen shop or a stationery shop and you just want to buy one of every colour. You're never going to do anything with it, but you just want one of every colour. You all know that feeling. Okay, so let's move that onto here. Let's get a few of these out. These are lovely. These are our twisted marigolds, so we're going to use those. And we're also going to use these. Just move the boxes out of the way in a minute. These are Tangerine Dream. So I liked the fact that these all went together because a lot of the twisties that we were using just then actually came from these pulls. So either twisted marigold, I think sunshine daisies, or the Tangerine Dream. So that's what we've got on here, and we're going to use a little bit of the confetti as well, so I'll pop that all on here. So we need some glue. Probably need to fill up my glue actually. I'm going to put a big dob of glue on there for the minute so you can see it. Move these out of the way. So this is quite a nice thing to do. It's quite delicate. So I'm just dipping this in the glue and I'm going to put these wherever I want to put them in a random pattern on here. But I want to glue them because I want to make sure that they don't actually, flip everywhere in the kiln. And I'm trying to find little pieces of this that are just nicely curved, really. And what I'm going to do, I'll show you my finished idea. And then I'll carry on putting all my little bits on. So let's find some nice murrine, rolling all over the place. This is like these delicate fabric patterns that you get. So it's just pop them. Whereas we normally, when we're making pieces, we normally have quite dense foliage and things. I quite like the fact that we've got these little flower heads everywhere. Some of these have got bits in the middle, some of these haven't. We actually twisted the pull, so you get like a, it's like a windswept look to them. They look really nice. They're very subtle when you put them on and when you fire them. When you full fuse them, of course, they go somewhat abstract and they look even more sort of watercoloury, and I love that look. I think it looks great. So this is going to be all over this. It's just a random pattern all over it. So I'm going to put all my stringers on first. So let's just cover it with that. Again, it's reasonably quick to do. I'm staying away from this area here because I don't want to have to drill through one of my pattern bits. And I'm putting them purposefully sort of higgledy-piggledy. I don't want them all pointing in the same direction. But I do want them everywhere. And I've also got different size stems on here. But this is really effective. The finished piece looks gorgeous. Oops. Sometimes they go where they want to go. Some longer stems, some shorter stems as well. Probably got a bit too much glue going on here, so I'll wipe some of that off in a minute. But I do want quite a bit of pattern on this. Let's just move this to the side here. Get rid of that. Got glue all over my tweezers now. That's the last few bits. If you've got any that you think, oh, that's a bit long, just snap them. Don't forget the corners. And this matches nicely, obviously, with the pattern that we did that was just a random twisty pattern. I think we're nearly there on the stringers. In there. You might find some holes once you start putting the once you start putting the murrine on. You might find some holes and think, need to fill that. What's the main balance? Last one. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to put my murrine on now. Lovely. Some have got really quite a bit of red in them. Some of them haven't. Some of these over here and start on some of the tangerine dream. This is lovely because this has got a mixture of that yellow and the pumpkin orange in it, so it kind of ties the two together. And again, they go from these really delicate flowers to some quite robust colouring in them. Depends where it was on the pole. Running out of glue just down there. Let's fill up my glue. If you got that, just pop it in a thing upside down and then the container upside down. It'll fall to the bottom. Let's pop this on here. This is one of these things that you don't really have to think about too much. It's just nice to sit and fiddle with. What else would you be doing on a, well, Saturday morning at the moment? put one on each one of those. We can hear all sorts, you probably can't pick this up, but we can hear all sorts of little scratchings when I'm really quiet. And that's probably because we've got a hedgehog living under the studio. And we caught her redoing her bedding. That's probably why I'm feeling very spring-like at the moment. We caught her on a wildlife camera redoing her bedding, and she makes a row late at night when I'm in here. I can tell you that. Very sweet. Okay, I think I'm nearly there. Still one more on there. And one on here. Now there's probably one that I've missed somewhere. There is one that I've missed. I've just found it there. Let's just pop that on there. I think that's it. And I've got to decide whether or not I'm going to put some confetti around the edge. So let's just give this a little go here and see what it looks like. Oh, there's quite big bits there. So these are just the bits of the tube that I've shattered in the bottle. I'm just popping this around the edge, just kind of as a nod to you know, the stripes that we did on the other one. Okay, this is probably the bit that takes the longest. Alright. These are all going to flatten. They might look a bit weird sticking up at the moment, but of course, because we're doing a full fuse, this is all going to flatten into one. Some of these are a bit longer than others, so I'm trying to keep to the sort of little squat pieces. We'll give you the firing schedule for all of this as I come up on the screen. Once we finish this, you can see what we use. We're using Kiln Care Cub Fuser and Hobby Fuser 3 in our studio, and I tend to use the same firing schedule in each one. I've probably modified it slightly for tack fusers, but for full fusers they seem to work with a pretty standard schedule. So obviously if you've got a full fuse program that you regularly use, then stay with that. Absolutely fine. I'm sure. So this is 3mm COE90 bullseye detector that we're using for that clear base. Obviously you could use a different colour for the base if you want to. White would be nice. It's going to fire slightly differently because white's probably the hardest out of the colours. So you may need to up the temperature when you slump it. So we're going to full fuse these, and then I'm going to slump in that ceramic mould that I showed you. If you don't have a ceramic mould, you don't have to slump them at all. You could use them as flat pieces, flat plates, and that would work just as well. I just want to add an extra bit of shape to mine, which is why I've decided to go with that mould. And of course that mould can be used for this size as well. You just won't get as much of a curve. And I could keep the top one straight, but I've actually got a smaller mould, the same sort of shape and profile as that one. That's it. So I'm done. So that's going to be my middle piece. Oh, look, right in the middle there, I've just seen that I'm missing. Let's get some glue on that other one. I'm missing a little flower. Let's stick that on there. There we go. So the rest of them have all got flowers. Great. So I'm happy with that. So it's like a fabric design, which is what I was looking for. I'm going to full fuse that now. We're going to use this program, this firing schedule. So stick to yours if you prefer. Try that one if you want to, and hopefully we'll get a lovely patterned piece that comes out. So I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this video. In part 2, we're going to show you the slumped versions, because obviously we'll full fuse this and then slump it, and then after the slumping is when you drill the hole. So in part 2 we're going to show you how to drill the holes in glass, which is something that usually scares the pants off everybody. So you don't want to miss that. So make sure you're subscribed, and also click the little bell icon, because the little bell icon makes sure that you get notified whenever we post a new video. And also just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been subscribing and been clicking the icon. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers for our YouTube channel. We haven't been going that long, so I'm really happy because we're starting to see people posting pictures of what they've made after watching our videos, and it's fantastic. We love it. So don't forget to comment if you've got any ideas on what you want to see next. We'll gladly take those as well. Hope you've enjoyed that, and see you in part 2. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.